fun real fast, okay, in case you don't have enough blood going on, running around in your veins. What we're going to do is, if you have young people in first and second confirmation, come over here. I know some of you are going to have both, okay? So if you're both, sit wherever you want, okay? But if you're first or second confirmation, if y'all will sit over here, that's why we want to make sure we get you the right handouts. And if you're first communion, okay, over here. Wow, okay, we'll give you a moment. Should have played some music. No, we need y'all here. All right. Thank y'all for doing that. That'll help us get everything set. Wow, we knew this was going to be a big group, so welcome.
Will you restate communion over here, confirmation over there?
First communion, right? Y'all are first communion, confirmation, okay? Or if you're both, just be where you are, okay? You're special. Okay. So y'all, welcome. Thank y'all for coming this morning and hearing our plea. We want to give you all info. A lot of times what we will do, and some years, is we will have like a meeting for confirmation, then a parents' meeting for first communion, and they're all on different Sundays or whatever. So we thought maybe we would help everybody and just do it all together. And we're space limited right now. We've really got some issues. So this is the way we're going to do it. Thank you for rolling with the punches. Chris, I just want you to know, have a plan for a microphone, because this is okay, I can just give you this in a minute, okay? Y'all, thank you again. What a great opportunity this is for you and your family to be embarking on a sacramental preparation, either first communion and or confirmation. It's a great opportunity for your family to grow, to deepen in your faith, to become more committed, to be inspired by the Holy Spirit, to maybe pull back up some of your own devotions and your own sincerity of faith. There's just nothing more powerful than our young people calling us as adults to take our faith more seriously and to live it more passionately. So we just want to kind of share with you a few things that you need to know going into this year. And if y'all will pardon a lot of the rule reading that we're going to do. And, I know everybody has their own circumstances, their own situation, their own struggles, etc. But as an entity, and it's really one of the brilliant things about Catholic Christianity, is we have principles and guidelines. My dad used to always describe it as we kind of have guardrails that keep us from driving off the cliff. Okay, and so we're gonna put some guardrails up here so nobody has to worry about enjoying the trip and without falling off the cliff. Okay, so that's what we're all about. And please note this: during, before, after, we want to work with you. If you don't understand something or whatever, please talk to us. Especially talk to our director of religious education. Talk to our confirmation catechists. Talk to our First Communion catechists. Talk to our youth director, Angela. So just imagine this, if you will. You have somebody that comes into your life, and they fall in love with your family, and you go all out to make them feel welcome. And in fact, they become a part of your family. And you celebrate everything that there is to celebrate. You throw a banquet in their honor. Maybe you even pay for their wedding as they get older. And then, lo and behold, they get to their wedding day, or maybe they get to their graduation day after you've paid for all their college tuition, and you never see them again. How does that feel? What happened What did not make sense? Where did the bonds that you thought were there not come to their full fruition? What happened to the mutual commitment? What you would realize is you've been used. You've been taken advantage of. You have been something that you became vulnerable about. The very preciousness of yourself and your family you gave to somebody, and they took it and then disappeared forever. Y'all, that's what is akin sometimes what happens tragically with people who come to the Catholic Church seeking the sacraments. Oh, we go through every rule, we obey everything, we get registered, we are super duper superhero Catholics for a year or two, and then our kids get First Communion or they get confirmed, and tragically people fall into the sinful attitude of not continuing that relationship that they were given and that they were strengthened in by the church's grace and gifts. Sacraments are not ends in of themselves. Sacraments are not something that you achieve, that you get a certificate for, and that you wave proudly in the air and then just drop out. That is one of our main things that we try to avoid in sacraments. So really, what do we do to prevent that? Well, we're going to teach your kids, okay? We've got great catechists here. You're going to teach your kids. We're going to challenge you again and again and again and over. If it does not mean anything to you, it's not going to mean anything to your young people, okay? But what we're also trying to do is to evangelize you, moms and dads, to remind you of what's been given to you, to remind you of the need to commit, to remind you of the need to live your faith, the faith that you want your kids to live. Again, I never forget years ago, a little girl learned something in sacramental preparation, I think it was First Communion, and she went home to her mom and dad and said, "Mom and Dad, I just found out that if we're Catholic, we have to go to Mass every Sunday. You know, why don't we do that?" She took on her parents. What's going on? In our household, and the parents were kind of very, oh my gosh, and she asked Mom and Dad, "Did you know that?" "Well, yeah, we kind of knew it, but we don't." So one of our deals here is we want to evangelize you and help you fall in love again with Jesus and to fall in love again with his church. It's just that important. One of the things, and please pardon me because I know you've heard it already. Maybe you need to hear it again, maybe you don't, but I'm going to do it anyway. Your children's relationship with Jesus, their relationship with the church in a particular way, is what is going to help them get to heaven. It's going to help them get to the goal. The goal of all of us as Catholics is not for our kids to get a scholarship. It's not for our kids to become the best basketball player on the AAA Little League team. It's not for them to shine and get every ribbon. It's not for them or for you to be popular among your friends and peers. Do y'all remember this whole Christianity thing? Actually, if we live it, it gets us into trouble. We kind of become like, ooh, y'all are kind of weird for being Catholic. And so I want to just say unapologetically, I want to just say very clear, sacraments, church, Mass, faith formation is more important than anything that's going on in your life and in your family, except for maybe getting your kids fed and clothed, okay, and loved. And so part of feeding and clothing and loving them in Christ is having that stance in your household that this is what we do. First and foremost, our priority is Jesus. Our priority is our Catholic faith. And everything else in our lives revolves around that center. And nothing replaces it. Now, are there circumstances and all that? Of course, we're here to work for you. We all know, please don't get your kids out of their sick bed to come to Mass when they're running a fever. I mean, there's always those circumstances, but we want to work with you. But y'all, we also, I had a meeting with the staff the other day, and I said, I wonder if the church is ever just going to give up, and especially in contemporary culture, and say, well, I guess, we can't convince people to put the church in front of their extracurricular activities for their kids. Of course, that was a rhetorical question. Of course, we're not going to give up because we know where grace comes from. So, domestic church, you're the first teachers. We're cooperating with you. Please note that if you haven't done it in a while, please, the church is open. The doors are open. Come back to a full practice if you're not there yet. I want y'all to know that we're not calling it first grade communion preparation or second grade communion preparation or seventh grade confirmation and eighth grade. We're calling it year 1 and year 2. We have 2-year sacramental preparation programs. Why? Because that's what our diocese requires. That's not a St. Anne's thing. But it's what our diocese requires because it's not just pop in and pop out. We're trying to get some time and some formation in. So please note, if you have a kiddo who is in 8th or 9th or 10th grade and they're in confirmation 1, that's okay. Okay? Or if you have a 4th grader who is in First Communion 2, that's okay. We're doing this for when they are ready, when they're prepared. We're not trying to fit them completely into the pegs and the squares, especially because life happens, and we know that. So don't panic. We're not giving out grades. We're not shaming or embarrassing them. We're taking everybody where they are with the requirements and the recommendations that come from the church and making sure that they have a good, solid 2-year formation. What does that mean? For a good 2 solid years, and it's ridiculous to tell you the minimum because we all know, hopefully, it's more than 2 years. It's a lifetime. We're all in lifetime formation. But for those 2 years at least, as we're measuring it, we have to know you're coming to Mass every Sunday, with your kids. This is what we do, kids. It's who we are. Isn't it a grace? Isn't it a privilege? But also when it comes to the class attendance, the Diocese of Amarillo requires 75% attendance at classes. Now, Father, what if the volcano goes off in Yellowstone? What is it? I mean, we get all these scenarios. Of course we're going to work with you. But it has to be within reason. We just decided, that morning that we would go hiking in Paladura Canyon. Well, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful spiritual place, but kind of need to get your kids to their class to bond with one another and to learn and to be formed. So all of those rules, y'all, and it's kind of like civil law. Every rule we ever see, you say, that is kind of a dumb law or if you think it's a dumb rule. Why is it there? It's because somebody actually did something at one time that a law and a rule had to be made. So those rules are guidelines, and we want to work with you and encourage you that way. Few other things. For those of you who have young people in confirmation preparation, okay? Your children are going to choose a sponsor. Okay, and let me just be real clear. Your sponsor must be the best, most wonderful, not perfect, because nobody is perfect, but the most powerful, wonderful example of Catholic faith that you can find for your child. It's not a time to, honor Aunt Flossie, who never had her own children, but, otherwise, goes to, a Wiccan church somewhere or whatever, but, we love her, and wouldn't it be nice if we have her? No, the sponsor needs to be, hey, we got to find somebody who is not going to just stand with you at confirmation, but who's going to walk with you throughout your life and pinch you on the chin if you or I guess I should say pinch you on the arm if you kind of are getting out of line and forgetting who Jesus is in your life, okay? So they should be those kind of people who are involved but help your children choose them, okay? But whoever they are, if they're from St. Anne's, if they're like the perfect sponsor, like Nicole Houle, okay, even Nicole is going to need to get a letter, or she's going to need to get approval from the parish for her to be a sponsor, okay? If they're coming from somebody else ASAP, they need to go get a letter from their priest, because it's the priest, it's the parish's responsibility to make sure our young people get what they need, okay? So just some little rules that you're going to hear further spelled out here. If you'll trust us with your kids, your young people, we promise we'll do our best to get them ready. But really the most important thing is what's going on in your house, in your home, in your families, in the active living out of your faith. Y'all, it's worth it. Of course I'm going to promise that I'm a priest. But this whole Catholic Christian thing really is worth it. And not only does it promise graces for us, but it promises salvation, peace, joy, hope in the midst of the struggles. So if you'll please be aware of all of that. Did I forget anything, Miss Hall or Mrs. Asbill? Okay, all right. We're going to then divide. Let me just ask y'all, do y'all have any questions for Father? Because what we're going to do then is we are going to let those of you in confirmation preparation hear from our confirmation catechist. Thank y'all, by the way, beforehand for all the work that you do and all that you're going to pour forth into our young people. And then we're going to let you hear from from Mrs. Hall. Okay, so why don't we hear from Mrs. Hall first, okay? All right, come on over. Yes. Yes. If he was in first grade last year, he was in year 1. He's good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, if your kids were in first grade last year and they came and they were practicing and all of that, yes. And plus, right, am I right? If your kids came to 7th grade or no? Yeah, if they came to Wednesday night youth at 75%, then they did their year 1 for confirmation. They'll be in year 2. But again, we're going to help you sort all of that out. Y'all, just want to say something again about youth, okay? For 9th through 12th grade, for those of you who have kids who have already been confirmed, we have Wednesday night or we have a Sunday morning class. They're going to be studying the same things. We want to make it good for y'all. Again, the only thing we don't have is nothing for all of them.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Chris Hall. This is a little breathy. I am the Director of Religious Education for pre-K through 6th grade. So first off, thank you all for being here. I know the last week of summer, lots of plans maybe had to be changed, but we appreciate your commitment to your children's formation and your partnership with us. I'm going to be speaking directly to the parents of year 1, year 2 communion. And like, who was it? Kate said, if they were in first grade last year, the requirements were a little bit different. They had the attendance requirement pretty much, and that was it. This year, we're adding another layer to what is required. And we're going to pass these around we'll start on this side because I think the majority are over here. But if there are any first grade or year 1 parents over there, please be sure you get one of the blue ones. And that goes into a little bit more of what's required, and I'm going to talk about that. Then there's also a red sheet that says year 2. So typically, again, in the past, this has been typically 2nd grade, but we're seeing other ages in there as well. So year 2 is on the red one. So grab one of those. On the back of the red one, there's also a first communicant information form, which needs to be completed today and given back to me. It just has all of the information that once your child completes their first communion, we can record everything in our official record book and have that on hand, so we'll always have a record of their first communion here, and then we also send that to the diocese. It asks for parent names, it asks for mother maiden name, all the things. Please just fill it out completely. On the blue form, if you want to start passing those just down the line, on the blue form it talks about, let me grab one of each, sorry Michelle. So this is for year one. Some additional requirements in addition to 75% attendance at class, and I want to speak to that briefly. Please, please, please communicate with your catechist. If your child is sick, if you've had a death in the family, if your child has to be absent, let your catechist know. Shoot me an email, the faith formation address, it's in the bulletin. Let us know, and that way catechists can work to get work together that they missed, because at the end of the year, when we're looking at that 75% attendance, we're going to be seeing not only were they there those times, but how close were they, and are they catechized enough? How many did they miss that they may not be fully formed to be able to make their first communion? So please just be in communication with them. And the opportunity that you'll have, and I'm going to say opportunity, not requirement, the opportunity that first year First Communion parents have this year for a fall workshop is over the domestic church. We'll have 2 options in the fall. You have to pick one, and then you'll have 2 options in the spring, and you must pick one of those. So attendance at a fall workshop and a spring workshop is the new requirement for year one First Communion, in addition to the attendance, okay? We also need a copy of the baptism certificate as soon as possible. I put on here October 1st is the deadline. And on year 2, the additional thing is we have the attendance, plus we have 2 workshops, one in the fall covering First Reconciliation. There are 2 options, so be sure to check your calendars, pick one of those. You must attend one. And then between the fall workshop and their First Reconciliation, you have some activities that you have to complete at home, and you'll turn those back in. That's part of the requirement as well, part of that domestic church, catechizing at home. There are 2 options for First Reconciliation, because we realize this is a large class and it's a very long time for Father Scott to sit and hear 30 confessions or more. So there's a Wednesday night option for First Reconciliation and a Saturday option. So again, be checking your calendar, see which one's going to work best for your family, and keep an eye on that as we get closer to the date. And then the spring workshop options for second year are covering First Communion specifically. And the kids come to these classes as well, and the catechists really work on going through First Reconciliation, walking through First Communion, and it's just a great time that we all come together and really finish preparing them. There will also be homework to go home after the First Communion workshop in the spring. Baptism certificates required, October 1st deadline. All the information will be on here. I think that's all I've got. I'm going to pass it off to Andy because I know you have a lot. If you have any questions, catch me right after. I'll hang around for a little bit, okay? I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Are you done with First Communion? So if you're in First Communion and you want to go, you're happy to leave. You don't have to stay for this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get back to our everyday lives, okay? First of all, we are so excited to have all of you here today. We're looking forward to a great 2 years. I've been teaching confirmation alongside with Phil for 4 or 5 years now, maybe. This is Phil McConnell. He is my partner in confirmation. He will be teaching year 1. So all year 1 questions, everything that has to do with year 1, you can come to Phil, and if he has questions, he can come to me. We'll figure it out. So Just some important things to note. Your kids do need to be here 75% of the time, which I know that's really hard when we start getting to this age with sports and extracurricular activities. So if you need help speaking with a coach, I'm happy to call and let them know. A lot of times they won't argue with religion. So I'm happy to make that phone call if you don't want to, but we really, really, really want your kids here. We also want them to take ownership in confirmation. This is something that they need to want to do, not just your parents wanting them to be confirmed. So that's the goal here. I do have important documents that I need. I need your baptism certificate. If it's here with St. Anne's, we probably have it. If not, we will need that. And I will also need your sponsor letter. If you're in year 1, I am happy to take that now if you want to get all of that out of the way. However, it's not required until year 2. But I do need all paperwork turned in by December 1st, 2024. We will have workshops throughout the semester. On this paper, we have the dates for you. We have 2 choices for year 1 and year 2, and then we have a makeup workshop for both years, okay? And all the dates will be on this paper that we're going to hand out. I'm fixing to have Phil pass the stack around, but you have to take 2 papers. I need you to take both of them, if you don't mind. So we will have those workshops. They are mandatory. They do need to be here, as well as you. It's a parent and student workshop. We also, for year 2 confirmation, we will have a retreat that the students will be required to attend. It's only offered one time, so you really, really need to be there. And the date will also be listed on here as well, so you can mark your calendars. It is a weekend retreat. If that's something that you're uncomfortable with, please come see me, and we can make other arrangements for your student. We also will have a saint project. This is for you students. You need to be researching your saints. We'll talk more about that in class, but we will have a saint project that your student will have to turn in year 2 as well. I'm trying to think. We will have an outreach. It's a service project that we do. We go out to we feed the homeless. That is something that we have done in the past. The students really have enjoyed it. We will have another option later in the year, and we'll keep you posted on that, but those are something they do have to attend. So there's a lot of things that these Confirmation 2 students will have to attend, and the dates and everything are on this paper, so please take a picture so in case you lose it or the dog eats it or whatever, you have it with you at all times, okay? So no surprises. Unfortunately, I will not have the confirmation date, like the actual date of confirmation, because I have to wait on the bishop to give me that date. And I'm going to patiently wait on him to give me that date. And so we will try to let you know as much in advance as we can. It typically has been in April, May. So either late April, early May, but it has even been in early April. So those 2 months, I know they're tough months with school, but just keep your calendars open if you're year 2 and you know that your child is needing to be confirmed. Also, we would love to have your students at Wednesday night youth, just because they're here for confirmation. We also would love for them to come and build that community with their peers. It's so important that they're, building those Catholic friendships. So we hope that you will still bring them to youth on Wednesday night as well. Am I leaving anything off? Okay. But other than that, I do have the sponsor letter forms, if you will, that I will pass back with y'all as well. So Phil, will you grab? They're right on the chair. So you need to take 2 of these. It's 2 papers, not one. Oh, yeah, you will need your other we'll have to have proof of your other sacraments as well. But isn't it usually in the paperwork, their first communion? The first communion. If you'll just write the date on the back of your sponsor letter form, that would be helpful. So, there you go.
I just wanted to clarify a couple things that people are confused about, and you're probably saying, I'm confused about more than a couple things. But these are the things I know you're confused about. So, number one, your attendance here today does not mean you registered your child. So if you did not officially sign the paperwork or register online, your child's not registered, meaning they can't come to class until they are. So just because you're here today doesn't mean we have you registered. Please make sure you filled out the paperwork for your student, either in paper form or online. Second of all, when Father said you can choose both, he said you can choose Sundays or Wednesdays or both. He meant we would be glad to have your students also on Wednesdays, but there is no Wednesday night confirmation class. That's not an option. Sunday morning is their required confirmation time. So when we say they can do both, that means they can do Sunday and they can do Wednesday. But Wednesday only for confirmation is not an option. There is no Wednesday confirmation class. Phil's class, will you stand up, Phil, so they know what you look like? Phil's class is going to be our biggest class this year. The only place big enough to have that class is the gigantic back room in the market. I know that's kind of a little bit odd, but that's where they will be meeting next week. So your first-year students will, I don't know what direction I am, but wherever the market is, the food pantry, that's where they're actually meeting. It was the only place big enough. Andy's class is going to be meeting second-year confirmation. They are upstairs in the crossroom. If they don't know which one the crossroom is, if they look in the door, they'll figure it out really fast. It's the one with all the crosses. So those are the clarities I knew to give you guys.
And that's all I have for y'all today, unless you have any questions. Yes. 9 through 12, it's for confirmation. You mean for confirmation or Sunday school? Okay, so the thing about Sunday morning option for Sunday school for 9th through 12th is it's really meant for the kids who cannot be here Wednesday, because we're running out of space in our building already. We're growing out of it. It's very limited. I think we have 10 spots opened. So you would have to come speak with us to make sure the availability is there for them. So if they can come on Wednesdays, we want them to come there, but on Sunday mornings, it's limited to those who can't make it on Wednesday first. If we have room, then we'll accept both. Yes. Yes, second-year students. It's just you and your parents. It's just the student. The sponsor does not need to attend the workshops. It's just the parent and the student. I don't know about if the parent can be the sponsor or not. Okay. The sponsors do not have to come to the workshops. The parents do. They'll want to be here for the confirmation. No. If they can, if it were me, I would have my sponsors praying for my kids, like during that time. But no. Because we have people that are sponsors from out of town that it would be hard for them to come in. We need more? Oh, the colored paper. And then the sponsor. Huh, no, they have enough, I think. If we run out of papers, we'll print off more. Do you have more? More papers? Yeah. Also, another thing is, don't be surprised if we have a family homework. I know that sounds kind of strange, but there are things that we're going to want you to do together as a family. It won't be anything extra outside of your home or a daily life. It's just adding some extra. Maybe we're praying together or doing a project together at home with your family to just kind of get everybody more involved. So maybe you can just start preparing yourself for that as well. The retreat cost, I believe, Angela, the retreat cost $100 and...
Okay, so the retreat cost, if they go to the whole retreat, is $130. If they only come during the day, like the day part only, which would be Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., the church covers that portion for them. So if you don't want them to come to the entire retreat, they do have to be there 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Church will cover that cost. If you wanted to go to the whole retreat, it's $130 for the whole weekend.
Did y'all hear that? So it's $130 for the full weekend, and then if you, as a parent, if you don't want them there to spend the whole weekend, for the day from the morning on Saturday to the evening, the church will cover that cost for the student. But it will be out at Cedar Canyon. It's going to be a good time. They're going to love it. Any other questions? A lot of kids will be there. All right, well, if you get the paperwork, you are welcome to leave, or I will stick around if you have any questions.